guys, welcome back to Check Your Leader TV. Today we're going to do a very quick rules review. And the rules we're going to be looking at is none other than Two Fat Lardies, What a Cowboy. Now, as you'll be aware, I've been producing my own cowboy rules called I'm Your Huckleberry. And they've probably been in development now for well over a year. And I made no mystery of the fact that when I put I'm Your Huckleberry together, I was basing them on ideas that I'd gleaned from Two Fat Lardies, specifically What a Tanker, Sharp Practice, and Chain of Command. So I'd taken ideas from here and there from all three of those rules, and I mixed them together, and I came up with I'm Your Huckleberry. So when I first got a hold of What a Cowboy, the first thing I did as I was looking through it, I was going, oh, that's awkward. Oh, that's awkward. But there are some significant differences between my Western Gunfighter rules and What a Cowboy. And you can compare the two. I've played a game and put a video up, and I'll put a link in the description below of my first game of What a Cowboy. And obviously there's a couple of videos, I think about 3, already in the playlist, my Western Gunfighters playlist of I'm Your Huckleberry. But today, what I'm talking about is What a Cowboy. And so I'm going to do a rules review using the 5 categories that I do all my rules review with now. And the method I use is the same method that the guys at Little War TV use. That is, I give a 10% rating for presentation, a 30% for playability and mechanics, 20% for historical flavor, and then 10% for support. So without further ado, let's crack on and do a review of What a Cowboy.
Yeehaw! There's a snake in my boot.
Now, the first thing you're going to notice is they're soft bound, and the quality of the paper and the cover is it's really, really nice. You open it up straight away. There's some advertisements there from Foundry. You have an introduction, a contents page, okay, which is always nice. A glossary of terms, which is also very handy, and then the rules follow a logical process of how the game is played. I won't go into too much of that because then we're talking about mechanics. What's also required to play What a Cowboy is you do need a deck of What a Cowboy cards. So the rules by themselves are all well and good, but you really do need the cards as well. So you not only need the rules book, but you do need a special set of cards. And the cards are divided. It comes kind of like a poker deck. It uses hearts, diamonds, spades, clubs, and part of the deck is for cards, just basically like normal poker cards, and you allocate cards to each of your characters in the game. So each cowboy miniature will have a card allocated. It might be an ace of clubs, the 2 of clubs, the 3 of clubs, and so on and so forth. And essentially, one set of cowboys will be the clubs, one set of cowboys will be the spades, another will be the hearts, another will be the diamonds. And you could obviously have games where you have multiple players, many players, each with a card allocated to their cowboy. It doesn't mean that a club can't shoot at another club or a spade can't shoot at another spade. It's just these cards indicate which cowboy is going to be activated when that card is drawn. But it should be noted you do need this deck, because within that deck is also the Desperado cards, and these add a little bit more flavor to the game. And you could play without them, but it would detract quite heavily from the game if you didn't have these Desperado cards. I couldn't really find any problems in the production values of these rules themselves. If there are any spelling errors or omissions, I haven't noticed it yet. There might well be, but just based on what I've seen, it's a very nice product, and the cards are very, very nice as well. One gripe, the quick reference sheet, there isn't one. You can get a quick reference sheet by downloading it from the Two Flat Lardies website. Also from, I think if you go onto their Facebook page, the What a Cowboy Facebook page, you can find the quick reference sheet there. But there's not one in the book, and it wouldn't have been hard, I think, if they had just produced a quick reference sheet and put it actually in the book, and then you could have just photocopied it out. But there wasn't one of them. So you have to download it, and here's one that I've downloaded and I've laminated. This one, I'm not too sure if it was produced by the Two Fat Lardies or somebody else. Regardless, it's a perfectly fine quick reference sheet. There is a random events table. Every time when you roll your dice to activate your cowboy. So basically the way it works is you draw a card, that's your cowboy is up. You grab 6 dice, you roll the dice, and those dice dictate what the cowboy can do. If you roll 666, it triggers a random event. And it happens surprisingly regularly, I've discovered, in the games that I've played. And I'd easily have played 10 games now, and I've found that I often have to dive into the rules to find the random events table. And I've got quite good at it now. I can pretty much open it pretty much straight away to that. But again, it's buried in the book on page 37. You could bookmark it, obviously, put a little tag on it saying random event. But like I said, I think it would have been nice if a quick reference sheet and the random events table had been replicated and stuck at the back of the book, and then you would be able to find it quite easily, and it make photocopying it whatnot probably simpler as well. So for that reason, for presentation, I've given what have I given What a Cowboy for presentation? For presentation, I've given it 7 points. So a nice 7 points for presentation. Now let's go on to playability. So in other words, playability, how easy is it to get started? Well, fortunately, it's quite easy to get started in What a Cowboy. All you need is, 4 miniatures. That's enough to have a good, decent game, 2 cowboys aside. And not every cowboy shootout takes place in Main Street of Deadwood. So you don't need a lot of buildings to start with. You can quite easily have quite a good game where you're playing out in a prairie or along the banks of a little stream, or near a gold mine, or just in a little grove of trees. It's really an easy entry level. You can play on a 3-foot or 4-foot square. I've been playing all my games predominantly on a 4x4 table or playing area, but a 3x3 playing area, it works perfectly fine. I wouldn't go any less than that. Yeah, so you don't need a lot of terrain. And if you're a war gamer, you've probably got a bucket load of terrain already. Getting together some Western cowboy buildings and whatnot, it's not going to be difficult. And you can gradually build up your collection as you go along. So the entry level of terrain, what's required is really, really minimal. And not much is required at all. Very, very easy to do. So for playability, again, I've given it 8 points. Okay, so that's a grand total of 24 points for playability. So that takes us on to mechanics. Now, the mechanics of What a Cowboy basically are drawn almost identically from What a Tanker. So essentially, each cowboy, like I said, is allocated a card. The cards are put into a little deck. You shuffle them up, and then you draw cards. And as cards come out, each of your cowboys is activated. When that happens, you grab 6 dice and you roll those dice. If you roll a 1, that means the cowboy can use that 1 to initiate movement. A 2, they use that to initiate spotting or acquiring the target. 3, for aiming at the target. 4 or 5 for shooting and reloading. And then a 6 is a wild. You can use it for anything you want at all. And so essentially each cowboy draws his card, rolls his dice, and carries out all his actions as every other cowboy miniature is basically stationary. Now, for me, that's one of the things I don't particularly like, because essentially you can have a cowboy moving around. If he's got the right roll of dice, he could move, shoot one cowboy, move, shoot another, and the cowboy being shot at can't really do anything other than dodge. So any cowboy or character that is shot at, the first thing they have to do is that you have to roll a d6 to see if they dodge. And if the cowboy's in the open, it's a 33% chance that he'll be able to dodge out of the way. And if he's in some kind of cover, any kind of cover, it's a 50% chance that he can dodge away. Other than that, they're pretty much at the mercy of the active cowboy. That is, except for the fact that if they have a bonanza token, so they can each type of cowboy, depending on their status, gets a bonanza token. The lowest level of character in the game doesn't get a bonanza token, but the better ones will have a bonanza token, or maybe even 2. And these bonanza tokens basically enable the unactivated cowboy to interrupt or to gamble. So they can use that bonanza token if one of the characters is going to shoot at them. They can use it to interrupt and shoot the cowboy that's about to shoot them, or attempt to shoot the cowboy that's about to shoot them. They might use it to attempt to just move out of the way as well. It depends on a dice roll, what happens, or dice rolls, what that bonanza token can be used for. At any point, you could also use your bonanza token to re-roll your activation dice. And that's basically, that's the way, that's the mechanics of the game. It makes for a very, very good, fun game. And I must admit, apart from my little gripe about not being able to interrupt your opponent's action with anything other than a bonanza token, I think the mechanics of the game are really quite good. Now, they're so good, in fact, that this is the only game that I've been able to convince my entire family to play. Only the other day, we had a game of What a Cowboy, and myself, my wife, my 12-year-old boy, and my 15-year-old daughter, well, soon to be 15-year-old daughter, we all played a game of What a Cowboy with one cowboy each, and we had an absolute hoot. So it is, the mechanics are very, very easy to pick up, because I played the game, it was my 10th game. For my son, it was probably about his 5th. And for my wife and daughter, it was their first game. And we all picked it up and we started playing straight away with minimal explanation, and off we went. I mean, and this is one of the great things with What a Cowboy. There's a very, very low learning curve to it. You can literally, as long as somebody knows the rules, everybody can play. It is really very simple mechanics, but also the mechanics make for a really good, enjoyable game. Is it a realistic simulation of cowboy gunfighting? Well, funnily enough, it's not that bad. I think it plays reasonably well in regards to that. It's as realistic as any other cowboy game I've played so far. You know, in regards to how realistic any game can be when you're trying to simulate a gunfight. So yeah, it's a pretty good. The mechanics are pretty good. You have another mechanic that's worth talking about is a pin token. Like I said, when a cowboy is fired upon by another cowboy, and a hit is inflicted on that cowboy, before the hit takes effect, the target has the option to dodge. If the target is successful in the dodge, the target then receives a pin token. So that target is now pinned. From that point on, if he was fired upon a second time, he would not be able to dodge. What does a pin token represent? It essentially represents the idea that the cowboy is either moved into cover or is simply dived for the ground, or sidestepped, whatever. It's a good mechanism. It's a good simple mechanism to demonstrate that a target is under fire, and to a degree somewhat suppressed maybe, because that pin token cannot be removed until the target has rolled their dice and has achieved either a 1 or a 6 on those dice that they roll. Now, when a target is hit, doesn't automatically follow that the target is killed or even wounded. The target can either pick up shock or wounds, and then wounds are divided into just normal wounds or critical wounds. So basically, when you shoot at a target, there are a series of modifiers for range and weapons and all this kind of stuff. But if you have a modified roll of 1, 2, 3, or 4, you've missed the target. If you achieve a 5, the target is shocked, and so one of their dice, their activation dice that they would normally roll, so normally 6, one of those will be moved into a shock pool to illustrate that they're a little bit rattled. If you roll a 6, it's a wound, and that dice is lost permanently. If it's a 7+, so if you get after you've rolled your dice and you've added your modifiers and you achieve a 7 or more, it's a critical wound, and so that's going to lead to some temporary removal of dice and some permanent removal of dice, or could even result in the target being killed. So that's basically how shooting works. So in conclusion, I think the game mechanisms that What a Cowboy use, I think they're pretty good. And so I've given it a score of 8, which, given it's 30% of the total score, that gives What a Cowboy for game mechanics a grand total of 24. Historical flavor. Well, when you're playing a game of What a Cowboy, it certainly feels like it's a cowboy shootout. And I think what with the use of the Bonanza tokens and the Desperado cards, it's got plenty of historical flavor. I'm going to score it pretty high, actually. I'm going to give it a 9, which gives it a grand total of 18. for historical flavor. That said, you could easily take What a Cowboy and adapt it to any other period. I've seen already on the Facebook group people using it for Star Wars type games and for fighting on the Northwest frontier and in Zululand. Quite frankly, you could use it for anything. But it certainly does what it says on the box. It says it's a Western gunfight game, and it feels like a Western gunfight game. And finally, the final category we're going to look at is support. There's plenty of support out there on the Two Fat Lardies forum and on the Facebook group. And as support goes for any game these days, all it takes is someone to open up a Facebook forum or some other type of social media, and there's your support. There's plenty of it. You can ask a question on the Facebook group and you'll get an answer pretty quickly. And you can also obviously go to the Two Fat Lardies forum. Also, there are plenty of files available, and there's also a whole bunch of 3D printable files that you can get pointed in the right direction to produce everything from buildings and the actual miniatures themselves, or even gaming boards where you can track the shock and the rounds fired by your cowboys as you play the game. So for that reason, for support, I'm giving it an 8. So if you add all that up, What a Cowboy gets 81 points, which is obviously means it's highly recommended. If you're looking for a Western gunfighter set of rules that you wish to, because it's a period that really interests you, there's a lot to choose from out there. There's, I think there's one called Gunfighter's Ball. There's obviously Dead Man's Hand, which has been very popular for a long time. There's Hey You in the Jailhouse. And now there's What a Cowboy. I highly recommend Two Fat Lardies, What a Cowboy. They're a great set of rules. Now, with that said, how do they compare with my set of rules called I'm Your Huckleberry? Well, I'll say that for another video because it's not about my rules in this video. It's about these set of rules from Two Fat Lardies. I will say, however, one of the fellows I regularly game with, David James, we've had a couple of games now of What a Cowboy, and he's of the opinion that it's a good game. It's more like he compares What a Cowboy is a bit like a light beer, as opposed to I'm Your Huckleberry is kind of like full strength. But I won't go on about that too much right now. Like I said, I don't want to go trying to compare the two rule systems in this video. So with that, we'll wrap it up there. Like I said, they're an excellent set of rules, well presented. The game mechanics are really sound. It's well supported. It feels like a Western gunfight when you're playing the game. The level of entry or playability is really, really easy. And the proof is in the eating. Like I said, this is the only miniatures game I've been able to get my whole family to have a game of all the war games I have. It's the only one where I've got everyone around and playing, with the exception of Zombicide. But we're not talking about Zombicide now. All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up there. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Obviously, I don't just do rules reviews here on Check Your Leader TV. There's bucket loads of game reports and after action reports. And I share my views on all things wargaming that interest me. So if you can give it a thumbs up, that would be really good, because it does help with the algorithms apparently. And the more people that are viewing the channel, it makes me feel good. And let's face it, that's what it's all about, making me feel good. And if you want to continue to not make sure you don't miss out on any of the other content that I might produce, it's a really good idea to subscribe. That way you'll at least get notified if when I upload something. All right, well, that's it for now. And until I see you on the next one, Yibakway. Take care.